Hi, this is Nikki coming to you guys from day 2 from Nice in Congress, SMR Congress 2014. I am joined this morning by Nathalie and Florence de Pernod Ricard, and also Mark from Added Value. So to get started, first of all, your presentation was really great and really interesting because it relates a lot to international culture. You guys have businesses, you have locations all over the world. And I found it really interesting that you were here to talk to us about finding a common language that you guys can all work from within the company. What has that really, you talked a bit about it in your presentation, but what has that really given you guys now that you have sort of a common way to discuss things like insights and research and a common culture?
I think it helped to make visible all existing ways of working and existing assets, and that is now shared and used by many more people, so they can relate to each other much more easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think they can continue also build on the approach, and because this is our DNA to work together, and so we will still continue to develop it together.
Mm-hmm. And how was it for you? I mean, from the research perspective, we talked a little bit before about, they gave you this brief and asked for you guys to come and help and really centralize things. How was it for you trying to work with such a big, diverse brand and kind of pull things together from everywhere into something that was very cohesive?
So, on the one hand, it was complicated because it's an incredibly decentralized organization, and the team is spread over, 80 or so different offices, but there are obviously ways today of getting to talk to people, and we brought everybody together on an internal online community, so that was great for finding out what was going on. And then, as we talked about in the presentation, what was key to really cracking this was actually deep diving into the culture of the company. And once we had identified that as a powerful thread, it kind of brought everything and everybody together.
Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in all of your perspective. Obviously, Pernod Ricard is a fairly big brand, as you mentioned, offices in 80 locations. Do you think that something like this sort of diving into the company culture and getting communication internally on the same page, do you think that can also be helpful for smaller brands and smaller companies as well?
I think it works for everybody because it's really developing something together, brings it alive, in fact, which is the name of our approach, but this is really what we meant to do, in fact. So yes, of course, yes.
Mm-hmm. What we have found over years developing this common language in many various fields, in fact, is that it helps people really feel owner and part of the process. It's not something imposed from the top where people do it because you are asked to, but they not always like it. Mm-hmm. And here they feel like they've been part of it, so they created it all together. Mm-hmm. And then they like it much more. Mm-hmm. They're more happy to use it and to promote it. Mm-hmm. And that probably applies to every organization, whatever the size.
I think there's also an issue of how long the company's been in existence, and in some ways it's quite easy when you're working with brands that have so much history as the Pernod Ricard brands, because there's so many stories to draw on. Likewise, I think if it's a very young company and there's a founder there who's behind the company, again, it's very easy to think about stories, and it's perhaps more difficult for those companies in between who are in kind of the second or the third generation and have lost a little bit the kind of the powerful reasons why they were created, and I think that's what needs to be refound, so that they can kind of align behind that and continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things about the company culture of Pernod Ricard that you guys discussed in your presentation was the fact that he was really passionate about connecting with people, the idea of making friends and getting to know people around face to face. Has that really been something that's surfaced a lot in terms of now how you operate in light of all of this internal reworking that you've done? Is this connecting?
It's still extremely powerful, yeah. And people, you don't even think of it. You just do it. You go in bars. When we visit any affiliate in the world, each time we're taken out in the evening, obviously they take us out for dinner, but then you visit a number of bars and you talk with the bartenders, you talk with consumers, you see what they do, what they drink, and we ask them, why do you do this? And do you like it? Why do you like it? And any very simple question,
Mhm.
but you have this feeling of people just telling us things.
Yeah.
In fact, we really live it. In fact, yes, we live it during our working days, but also during the weekend, the weekdays, even with our friends, because it's really a part of our DNA. So that's why our company is successful, I think.
Mhm.
And it absolutely wasn't. It's not a new way of working for them.
Yeah.
The whole company is doing this. It's part of their DNA. And so it wasn't about encouraging people to go out more to speak to consumers. It was just helping them to tell stories to each other about what they were doing and make it a more powerful driver of creating insights.
The marketing directors, they just tell their teams that they have to go out at least twice a week. And this is maybe on the company as well, but it is part of their job. That's very specific, I guess, to the company.
Great.
Great.
Not a bad thing to be assigned to go out a couple times a week. So another question. Obviously, the theme of this particular Congress revolves a lot around inspiration. So I'd love to hear what inspires you guys, or what has inspired you on this particular endeavor that you went on together.
Well, I like very much as I said, the presentation of the extreme consumers, which I think may not apply to all of our brands, but if you think of Absolute, it's really Absolute's DNA to be at the edge of what's happening in life. It is obviously something they should do more and more. Yeah. So that's a good practice we will include in the Live Toolbox, definitely.
For me, what I think, because I'm really inspired by meeting new people from different cultures, and I think here in SMR, this is a perfect opportunity to hear people and to meet people from everywhere. So that's great. It's really
And for me, as I said, my inspiration is stories. I'm a history geek, and so many of the presentations today were people really telling us about their companies. There was the Japanese medical company, and you really understood that he was an entrepreneur and his passion and his way of working, and those stories are fabulous. And he too had found kind of a really cool way of working with insights that just came from who he was and who his company was. So all of those stories are a great source of inspiration.
Well, very lucky for your clients then that you're a great storyteller and you love stories. Last question is, and you kind of touched on it a little bit in your previous response, it's the beginning of day 2, so there was a full day yesterday. What have you guys thought so far of the SMR Congress? What are your thoughts on what it's been like?
Mark?
There are no wrong answers.
It's exhausting. You can't walk anywhere without bumping into people you know, or people coming up and
That's
saying
the beauty of it as well.
Which is great. I mean, it's so much more than just the presentations. I mean, the presentations are moments to sit and think and have ideas, but there's so much buzz going on, and it's really exciting, and there's so many good conversations that you just go away energized. So yeah, it's been really good.
Exhausting in a good way.
Exhausting in a good way. Yeah, ask me tomorrow. Exhausting in a bad way.
Certainly not.
Yeah, in fact, we are really happy to be here, but unfortunately, we were not there yesterday, but we will enjoy today's presentation.
Great. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.